Good morning, good morning. Quick sound check. Let me know that you guys can hear me and you guys can see my screen. Sound check 1, 2. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, that's awesome. Alright guys, so just punch into the chat there on YouTube. Awesome, thanks Jenny. I see you in Discord there. I was able to pull the chat out of the YouTube window, so that makes it nice and easy. I can put it right here next to my chart. So, alright, so you guys should be able to see my screen here. I've got the Nasdaq up, the normal 5-grade setup that I work with there, multi-time frame analysis. And I had a decent day yesterday, made a little over $2,700 trading some Nasdaq futures, and then also with the Goldman Sachs position that I put on yesterday that I talked about in the MLT Discord in the options chat there. So completely closed out of both of those positions here as of yesterday, and going into today completely flat. I'll give a quick recap on the trade from yesterday here so you guys can see my screen. Right here at the 1105 bar, you can see on the Nasdaq we've got a divergence right here on that 1105 bar, and that coincided with a 6679 level that we had marked up in the morning analysis that I do with targets up at 670650 and 671875s. So yesterday I mentioned about 9:29 in the morning, I said pullbacks to 66.79 in Nasdaq are viable with targets at 0650 and then 1875s. So we had a couple more divergences happen later on in the day where S&P's got new high and Dow got new highs, and Nasdaq and Russell did not. At the same time, on that on this divergence here on the downside for 1105 in the Nasdaq, that was a moment in time where nothing else was getting new lows. And from about that moment forward, I said, you know, it's likely going to be a sloppy range bound day. And that's exactly what ended up happening, is we stayed right in between this range of 79s to 0650s. So overall, I think there was one, possibly two good trades here in the Nasdaq on the day from yesterday. Otherwise, I think you could have got a little bit of slop and chop and eaten up a little bit in there, and I hope that did not happen to you guys. So what I want to do this morning, I'm going to go ahead and delete all drawings here, and we'll start working the analysis backwards and come up with a game plan for today. So I got to come over here to this screen, which is the one that you guys can see, and I'm going to switch this over to an hourly time frame here and start running my analysis. And I'm going to be on the top right chart of what you guys can see there. So coming into today, if we look at the overall, you know, last basically 180 days here, or whatever this chart will show back to May, you can see, you know, we had a nice uptrend happening. We finally broke that uptrend, and since then we've been in a steady downtrend. We've got lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and then we finally started to shift back in here the beginning part of the year. And now working our way, you know, kind of into an uptrend, but looking like that may actually kind of falter here. And there's a reason that I think we're faltering from this point of those 67, 18, 75 levels. And it was the failure for the market to actually regain the uptrend back in the middle part of December here. That's where we broke down from, and what led to this last down move into 5900s. So at this point, you know, we've gone from 5900s up to, call it 6700s. We've had about an 800-point move, which is just a little over, I think, 13% maybe. You know, 5900 to 6700 here, 800 points in the Nasdaq. So that's a really nice move happening off of those lows. And what I want to take a look at here this morning is, okay, if we are going to go lower, you know, what are the levels I want to pay attention to that if we break, you know, no more longs. If we break above a certain level, you know, can we get long again? Is there anything like that that works for us on the day? So with that, I've got a level in here at 66.43 quarters. And if I come over here to just pulling up my watch list here, I keep a watch list just on the side here. These are of the products available to trade in Nadex. You can see this is a Nadex watch list here. If you guys don't have a copy of this watch list and you want a copy of this watch list, just type in the chat and just say watch list, and I'll go ahead and drop a link in there for you guys. So I just keep that on the side over here, and that just gives me, I'll pull this back over for a second, sorry. That just allows me to look here and see, okay, the high, the low, kind of get a feel for the range on the day. So we've got about a 60-point range happening so far, 66.75 down to 66.12, so 63 points and some change there. Overall, not a bad range. About a 20-point range happening here in the S&Ps. Decent looking volume coming in so far, 220,000 in the S&Ps, 80,000 there in the Nasdaq, and then of course the Russell and the Dow are going to be less than those two. So it gives me kind of a feel of what's happening there. And what I'm seeing right now in the Nasdaq is, okay, we've got a low on the day of 66.12 and a quarter that I can see from my watch list, and I've got a level in here at 66.43 and a quarter. So that's going to end up being today my line in the sand for going lower. Right now we're about 12 points above that level, currently sitting at 66.55.50. Now we're at 66.56, and if we end up breaking that level on the day, then I'm going to be looking for prices to go much, much lower. And 66.12 is kind of right down in here, and that's pretty much in the middle of this big hourly bar, the first range bar from 2 days ago, which would have been Tuesday there. And there's no reason that it should stop there that I see on the chart. So I would anticipate that to go much, much lower, probably likely down in here towards 65, 68s, 65, 69s. So just keep that in mind when it comes to breaking 66.43 and a quarter. Now to the upside here, we've got two levels we need to get through. One of those levels kind of coming in right here at the 6,700 number, 66.9875. So just about a point away from that whole number of 6,700 there. And then 67.0950s. So what that means for me here on the day is I'm not really looking to take any long positions until we get above 66.9875s, or if we can pull back to 66.43 quarters, I'll give it the first test for a long off that level. If that breaks and fails, then I'm going to be looking to reverse to the short position and look for entries into that. So I pretty much have two scenarios for a long here. One, we get above 66.9875s and can buy pullbacks. Number two is if we pull back to 66.43 quarter here first thing this morning, somewhere right around the open time, 9:30 to 10 o'clock or so, then I'll look at a long position off of 66.43 quarters. The third position that I'm willing to take a look at here is if we can get beneath 66.43 quarters, then I'm going to look at some short positions and ride those down kind of into that 65.70 area or so that we were talking about just a minute ago, 65, 69, 75s. That would completely wipe out the past 2 days of action here, and we consolidated kind of in this 70 to 40 range here for a couple of days here before we finally got that breakout on Tuesday. So it would be kind of a big shift in momentum and overall trend here on the hourly chart if we did end up getting confirmation closes beneath that 66.43 quarter level. So overall, I'm a little skeptical here on more longs on the day from a swing basis, but intraday, I think we have some opportunity to get long, but not something that I want to be holding for a swing here. I think this this nice swing we've had to the upside over the course of 2019 could potentially be coming to an end. And we'll see today if that's actually going to be the case. Now, the one catalyst that we do have to this is some earnings announcements. So I have the I have the earnings pulled up here on another screen, and I want to say that we have Netflix coming out tonight after the bell. Today is Thursday the 17th, correct? So Netflix here after market today. So if we pull up Netflix here for a quick second, and this is something, when you're trading the Nasdaq, something you definitely have to be aware of is, the potential for some of these markets like Netflix, Amazon, Apple, Google. Obviously the high flyers can really have an impact on what the market's going to do. And you can see, Tuesday the Netflix gapped up here about $15 or so, and that was the day that the Nasdaq finally broke out. And you can see yesterday Nasdaq tried to go higher, Netflix tried to go higher, Netflix really couldn't do much, and the markets kind of faltered there. So I don't know what to expect here coming into earnings with Netflix, and I don't necessarily care which direction it is, but I can tell you the one thing that I do care about, and that is not having a position on in the Nasdaq futures after the market closed today, because that's when Netflix is going to be releasing earnings. I don't know if they're going to release at 4:01. I don't know if they're going to release at 4:15 or 4:30. And quite frankly, I don't necessarily care. I just want to be aware and know that they are going to be releasing so that I can pay attention for the Nasdaq futures at that point. So I may look at this kind of later on in the day in the morning power hour with you guys for some options trades that we could potentially set up. Took a couple yesterday in Goldman Sachs off of their earnings announcements. So picked these up right about 188 in the morning there. Had my levels mocked up and went ahead and took those positions for a nice little ride yesterday. That was good for about $2,200 or so. I think I was buying the call options for 26 cents and selling them out for like $2.50, $2.40, somewhere in that range. So I did record a video on that from yesterday for you guys when I was actually trading those live as well. So anyways, we're in the thick of earnings season here. I mentioned it yesterday in the chat. We had Alcoa that was reporting yesterday after the bell here. You guys can see, if you don't have this turned on your toss, I like to keep this on my daily chart, and that just shows you your earnings down here in the bottom of the chart, so you can see kind of when they're coming up for some of these key stocks. So Alcoa earnings were on 116 after the bell, and I want to go ahead and take a look here and see kind of where they're at. So Alcoa closed at 28.97. Looks like it's trading about 28.40s. You can see it had some gyrations here, up to 30 and 30.20, down to 28.20. So it had a $2 range, $1 each way from the close. And so far, a pretty minute reaction there on Alcoa. A little bit of gap down situation. So not really looking too much into that at the moment in terms of overall direction, but just Alcoa is kicking off earnings, and we got to be aware of that. All right, let's take a look here. All right, Kaylin wants the watch list. Let me go ahead and let me share that watch list with you guys. And drop this in there. There you guys go. So you guys should be able to load that up. I don't know if it'll bring over the last bid ask. I don't know if it'll set up just like this for you guys. Let me know if it does. If not, I can do a video showing you guys how to add each one of these in and kind of customize your watch list a little bit. Not a problem on that. Alright, so you guys let me know which markets you want me to take a look at here. It can be futures, it can be Forex, it can be some individual stocks here. We've got about 13 minutes until the open. The main product I'm going to be trading today is the Nasdaq. I've been watching gold here kind of up close to this 1300 level. I don't think it's going to break 1300, to be honest with you guys. I think we're going to get a nice pullback here in gold, kind of fail this hourly uptrend that we've got in place, and potentially going to move kind of back down in towards 1275s, and then potentially even lower than that. So it's an old level there. So awesome. All right, so S&Ps and crude oil. Keep throwing me symbols, guys. I'll take a look at those here first thing this morning. All right, so S&Ps here, pretty much similar situation that we have in the Nasdaq, right? But the difference is yesterday at the end of the day here, you can see the S&P kind of spiked and surged a little bit there, and that was able to give us a divergence setup here in the S&P. So let me pull this over so you guys can see here. This is the forward grid that I use for the divergence, and you can see, we definitely had some divergences in the Russell early morning. One finally ended up triggering. We had some early morning in the S&Ps, none of those triggered. And then later on into the end of the day here, you can see S&Ps popped up, got new highs. There is a signal right there underneath that bubble of 26 quarters. And at the same time, if you're looking across the board here, you can see that the Nasdaq did not get a new high. The Russell did not get a new high, and at the same time the Dow did. And then just a few minutes later here, just before, or right at 3:20 here, the Dow actually ends up popping up, gets another new high there by a couple ticks here. You can see that there on that little wick, and then ends up selling off. So it's no surprise that we had a little bit of selling action overnight based on this divergence that we had set up towards the end of the day yesterday. So that's really the big difference that I see in terms of the S&Ps and the Nasdaq. Overall chart setup's pretty much the same. We've got this nice consolidation base here for about 4 days. We finally broke out. We pulled back, retested the top end of that range here, and that level is going to come in on the day here at 25.9775s. And if you notice, and you can see it from here, the low here was 96.50. So we pushed through this level in the overnight session by a point and a tick. So 5 ticks here. So $62.50 there is all that we pushed through that level in the overnight session. So S&Ps relative to what the Nasdaq did, right? Nasdaq pushed through its level of 43.25 by about 30 points. S&Ps only pushed through by a point and a tick, right? So with that being said, I do think that the S&P could potentially be a little bit stronger on the day. It did get the new highs yesterday. It didn't push as far through its level, but again, it hasn't had the same amount of movement to the upside. So there is that, right? But overall, it's the same bias here for the S&Ps today. We can buy retest of 97.75s here, first test on the day. That would be about a 10-point drop or so, 8 or 9-point drop from where we're currently trading, 25.06s. And if that is the case, we can buy that, look for a retracement rally up. Most likely it's going to kind of coincide with the Nasdaq trading at the same levels, and all of those markets kind of moving together. So that's what I'm seeing there in the S&Ps. I'll leave that mocked up on some of my other charts there just to keep an eye on that level. Alright, someone mentioned crude oil there. Let me see. We got a couple things. Excuse me. Alright, so taking a look at crude oil here. Crude oil is rolling over today, so I'm going to look here and see just kind of what the contract volume is looking like on that. So alright, so we're rolling over into the H contract. You guys can see that here on the screen, /CL H19 is coming in. We're rolling off of the G contract. So H contract is going to be the March contract. So we're rolling from the February to the March contract today. And right now the volume is 97,000 contracts so far this morning. I've traded on the G19 contract, and 159,000 have traded on the CLH19 contract. So I'm going to punch in /CLH19 here, get a little bit of a better picture of what's currently happening here with crude oil. So I typically like to stay away from these, crude oil, natural gas, gold, and stuff like that when they're doing rollover. Sometimes the charts can get a little bit clunky until they get cleaned up here with the adjust for rollover. So just keep that in mind. And then again, what I see here in terms of crude oil is, if you look at this chart just like this, right? What do you see there? So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, we have done a whole lot of nothing. We've gone completely sideways. We opened up last Wednesday here on this gap up at about 51.50, and we're currently 35 cents away from there. So with that being said, crude oil is a no-go for me. It needs to find a direction. It is in an assumed uptrend here at this point. It has broken the daily downtrend here, where it was just getting slaughtered every day for about, I don't know, a month almost there. And pushed it from, call it 70 bucks, 69 bucks down into the 50 handle. So that's a nice 20-point move to the downside in crude oil, and we've only bounced here about 10 points from those lows. So overall in crude oil here, nothing that I see happening with that or a tradable idea for today until it decides a direction, is kind of what I'm seeing there in the crude oil markets. I saw Ken had posted something, but don't see it. Alright. Asking about Tesla here. Sure, I'll take a look at Tesla. Good morning, Dwayne. Alright. Let me zoom out here on Tesla. So, taking a look at Tesla, and again, the first thing I'm looking at down here is the daily chart in the bottom right. Just making sure that there isn't any earnings announcement coming up here that could catch me off guard in the next couple of days. And I don't see that here on the chart, so that looks good. Pre-market session here for Tesla, we're looking at about a 40-cent up opening. So far, 23,000 contracts, or 23,000 shares, sorry, have traded so far this morning, so not a lot. I mean, it is a $350 stock, so I'm sure that's a big number if you multiply it out. But I'm going to be looking kind of same thing here. We've got, take a look at the weekly here. Oof. That's a difficult one. So Tesla can do this. I mean, I remember this back here in 2013. This gap up opening right there. Let's go back to a daily chart. Oops. This gap up right here. I remember this gap up. Anyways, and then this one as well. So when I used to trade with Rob Shapiro in his gap trading room, which we still have, it's still open and good for business. That's actually where I pulled the Goldman Sachs trade from yesterday. Is from his room there, and I'll pull that up in just a few minutes and pull some stocks off his list as well, just to keep an eye on for the day, especially with earnings season coming up. He's going to have the top earners, or the top, not necessarily top earners, but the top charts that I want to pay attention to for earnings season. So with Tesla here, though, you can see it has these big moves, and it can go sideways for a very, very long time. I mean, this was basically a 3-year consolidation right around this $220, $225 number. Again, it still moves with the market when we got the move down here 3 years ago now. And, again, got the nice move up. It traded up into some higher prices here this year with the kind of 420 announcement of the buyout, and then again got sold off, and just continues to kind of come back and find this medium ground here right around 340 bucks. So it's a whole lot of sloppiness on this and I'm trying to find a good chart to give you some direction. I think if we can get above this kind of 350 range here, then we've got some room to the upside. Let's see here, 349.68. I think we've got some room on that to run up into kind of 363.51. Excuse me. So about 13 points worth of room there. Overall, if it doesn't break that level, though, given the sentiment in the market that I'm having and the potential for a little bit more of a daily pullback in the markets, I would think that Tesla kind of pulls back down here, possibly down into kind of 328.56s in here. That would be my overall bias in Tesla here. And again, this is going to move with the market. So if Netflix earnings come out tonight and they're stellar and market starts moving higher, then Tesla can definitely push through that 349.68 and work its way up to 363.51. So I think at the moment you're just going to have to wait on that one. So asking what would be the best trade to take today in Tesla? I would say the best trade to take today in Tesla would be absolutely nothing, if I had to give you my honest opinion in there. So that's what I've got there on Tesla. Covered S&Ps, crude oil. If I missed any of the symbols that you guys want me to take a look at here, I'm going to be back with the MLT group from the Discord channel with the Power Hour here coming up in just a couple minutes. Anyways, hopefully you guys are locked and loaded, ready to go for today. Remember, have some patience here when it comes to the markets today. We've got a pretty solid game plan in place here with the Nasdaq and the S&Ps that we went over. Also covered some Tesla, some crude oil, some gold, things like that. And again, wait for the right setup. Wait for and be patient for your trades. You know, I put out the trade yesterday in the Nasdaq at 9:29 in the morning, and that trade didn't end up setting up until 11:05, right in there. Right, remember the level was 66.79s. Pushed through that level by about 3 points there. Not a big deal in the Nasdaq here. But again, I waited around, sat on my hands for my trade for an hour and 30 minutes, and was able to pull out $545 per contract on the Nasdaq in just 12 minutes. I was in that trade for literally 12 minutes, and it hit targets. So keep that in mind. Patience, discipline. Trading is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and that always protect your capital. That's your real money capital that you're trading with, and protect your mental capital, because you cannot get that back as easy. You can always make more money to fund your accounts. You can always get funding through our partners, but protect your mental capital. It's really important. Anyways, that's what I got here for you guys this morning. Take care. I'll see you guys in the morning power hour in just a couple minutes.